Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Shalawama scholars, let me see if you all can hear me. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. All right, y'all. We were thrown off, but we're back now. We're back now. So let's I'm going to continue with the live stream. I'm not going to go through setting the settings again, okay? Be patient, y'all. Remember, this is information that people do not want us to have. And I'm on a 5G connection, y'all. This is 5G. So I'll just leave it at that. This is a 5G connection. But every time I go live, I get kicked off. But anyway, let's continue with the lesson, all right? We were 50 minutes in, so we'll continue. I'm not going to, let me pull up our PDF. I'm not going to do a review here. Let's continue. Let's just continue where we were. I gotta find my spot. We were here. We're gonna start at the highlight there, all right? So it continued. By the way, like and share the video. Like and share the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I think it's obvious that YouTube is not really interested in helping promote these videos. So I really need each and every one of you to like and share, post this video on your social media, send it to your friends and your family, okay? So let's continue. Let's continue. But one institution exists in the whole country where any respectful question, which any well-meaning man might wish to put, would instantly be answered with critical and scientific truth, free from all embargo. In other words, no strings attached. And that one institution is in danger of being shut up for want of means to pay its rent. Isn't that interesting? The one institution where you can go ask questions and get your questions answered honestly, they can't pay their rent. Now, let's continue. And the critical and scientific lecturer there, the only honest and faithful expounder of the mysteries of theology and the kingdom, is in danger of being shut up for his honesty and his faithfulness within the dreadful walls of horsemonger lane gold. So key word there is horse, right? Horse, horse, horse. Think astronomy. But isn't it interesting how when someone comes in, is willing to answer all of your questions that you had, whether you like those answers or not, you get a scientific answer. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm sure the author is not saying that every scientist is honest. That's a lie. People are people, right? You got scientists who are just as dishonest as pastors and imams or rabbis or moshes. Science has nothing to do with character, right? But what the author is saying is that if you know science, okay, if you know science, you can look at scientific work and make some determination as to its quality. In other words, as to its believability. Was the information put in, was the information that was put in good information? Was the analysis done properly? And is the output what you would expect? Does it make sense? Right? So scientists are not angels by far. We remember it's scientists who make nuclear bombs and who make guns and who make other weapons of war, right? But what the author is saying here, he's referring to himself. He's referring to himself as an honest scientist using etymology and history to show you the scam in the Gospels, the fairy tale of the Gospels, the hidden tracking of the sun's course throughout the sky on an annual basis, hidden in the Gospel, and why that's important to your life, to your well-being. Okay, so that's what's happening here. And the author is saying because he's doing that, he can't even pay his rent. People, he's implying, in my opinion, that people would rather be lied to. They'd rather be dishonest to themselves than to go and get the truth on a matter for whatever reason. I know somebody personally who always talks about their foundation being disturbed. So maybe you're somebody like that. You don't want your foundation being disturbed. Some other people are afraid of change. Some other people, they're afraid for whatever reason. It might be with you. Or maybe you're afraid to do what? Maybe you're afraid to learn that what you've been doing is wrong or is hurting you. Or maybe you've been abused so much that you've come to accept being abused as your lot in life, and you want to continue being abused. Only you know what it is in your situation that's keeping you in the church. If you know that you have doubt or you know something's wrong and you're still staying there, all right? So rather than coming and get the truth, you stay where you're at. Rather than coming to these astrotheology live streams, rather than coming to Zion Law School on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for 2 classes for free to get some questions answered in a non-religious point of view, you stay where you're at, right? Or maybe it's because your family and friends are in the religion, like the religion that I came out of. People stayed there because if you left, you would lose your family and your friends. So maybe that's why, right? Only you know. But let's continue. Let's continue. And so, sirs, with this taxed, burden, and priest-ridden country, from age to age or from generation to generation, continue to pay its millions upon millions a year. That's right. You continue to give them your money. That's the church. You continue to give them your money, your fiat, and more importantly, your energy, knowing that something is wrong, but you don't have the courage to exit. You don't have the courage, might I say, to come to Zion Law School. You don't have the courage to subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath, a streaming course that you can take anywhere you are in the world. All right. So that's why the author said in the very first, probably 50 pages, he called Christians cowards. Why? Because the doctrine makes Christians into cowards and slaves. Y'all remember that? All right, let's continue. You're afraid to burn, makes you into a coward. And so, sirs, will this tax, burden, and priest-ridden country from age to age, that is generation to generation, continue to pay its millions upon millions a year, what? In money and energy, all right? So will the millions of our fellow men in Ireland continue you know, continue from year to year and contended wretchedness to whine to us like hogs that cannot help themselves for potatoes. So now he's in London, right? The author is in London, and he's talking about Ireland. Remember the potato famine, the food famine, and all of that? Y'all remember that? That's what he's talking about. The pines and starves and die like hogs in ditches. To keep up the pompous sanctity of a set of reverend knaves, that's crooked, tricky thieves, and preaching to us their Mathew's gospel, not one of whom could ever tell us who the man Mathew was, or would give us any more satisfactory relief to our curiosity than such as mounted to a virtual quote, damn your impudence for wanting to know, end quote. And that's quite as much knowledge as was ever promoted by the Society for the Promotion of Christian Knowledge. But we'll know something about the man named Mathew, or that will do as well. We'll know the reason. We will know the reason why we know nothing about the man named Mathew. Let me repeat that. We will know the reason why. We'll know the reason why we know nothing about the man named Mathew. Mathew, not Mathew. Mathew. All right. So let the slaves of priestcraft, the gudgeons, flatfish, and blind eels that they catch in the gospel net swim down the ditch of faith into the cesspool of insanity. But here we shall blaspheme and be rational. Where is he talking about? But here he's talking about at the rotunda. The rotunda is the place where he gave these sermons. The rotunda is the place where he's talking about where he was couldn't even pay his rent. All right. But here at the rotunda, we shall blaspheme and be rational. We must know something about the man named Mathew. We must know all about him. So if you want to know about this blaspheme, go back and read the last, I think, 2 or 3 chapters. Okay, so he's talking blaspheme, not in the religious way you all are talking. Many of you might be thinking, okay? And for this reason, sirs, and if you cannot bear the reason, you must go to another shop. In other words, if you can't bear what he's saying using philology, etymology, etc., leave the rotunda, go someplace else. That's what he's saying. That we hold that when a man has got the credit of having written a gospel, which we are bound to take for gospel, when a man has gotten the credit for having written a gospel, which we are bound, which we must take for the absolute truth, under peril of eternal damnation, under threat of eternal burning in hell, the man who would leave any stone unturned in the way of picking up all possible acquaintances with him would be a fool. In other words, the man who would not research out who this guy Mathew is would be a fool. And I admit to being one of those fools when I was a Christian. I was concerned about everything written in the book of Mathew, but I never once concerned myself with figuring out who was Mathew. I never did. That was quite stupid, right? That was quite stupid to listen to somebody you know nothing about. By the way, that also means you should what? You should question these things that foreigners are telling you, things that people, so-called scientists, are telling you, what you're hearing on the news, on social media. You don't know them, but they're influencing you. Or are they not influencing you? Or are you not aware that they are influencing you? You see, that's how they have gotten us. That's how they have gotten us. They established themselves as what? The authority, and we listen to them although we don't know them. Although we don't know them, right? So knowing somebody is extremely important, all right? Knowing somebody is extremely important. So let me see, where are we? So we're on page 319. Let's see. No, we're not. We're not on page 319. Give me 1 second, y'all. I was talking and I lost my place. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, we are on page 319. Yeah, we are on page 319. Okay, so let me highlight where we're at. So if y'all haven't gone out and subscribed to our streaming 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, please consider doing so. All right, please consider doing so. That course, the streaming 101 Ancient Ibaryath course will definitely improve your life. It will do, if you think that what we're learning now is profound, wait until you get into that course, the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, okay? Just wait until you get into that course and you'll see, you'll see just how powerful that course is, how transformational, how eye-opening that course is. But don't take my word for it. Go subscribe. There's no contract, so you can cancel anytime, all right? But I know you're not going to cancel it because that course has enough information to keep you studying for years. That's an intensive introductory comprehensive course. It will have you busy for years, okay, y'all? It'll have you busy for years. All right, so now let's continue. So, all right, we have some comments here. WOY, him and Pale, good to see you back. WOY, him and Pale, good to see you back. I think people want to be lied to because it takes away responsibility for our actions. I agree with you on that 100%. Greetings, sir. The more I listen, the more things begin to make sense. I'm going to have the courage and come listen to you on Shabbat. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing you. That I like the way you put that together. That was very nice, very good writing. The way you put that together. So what WOY, him and Pale is talking about is our Saturday course, which is 506 the Curses course. Okay, that's at 10 a.m. every Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. every Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time. We put the work in, y'all. We put the work in every Saturday, 10 a.m. It's a live online class, and you can come for free. You can come for free, all right? You can come for free. You don't have to buy anything. You have to buy anything. Just show up and be ready to participate. So if y'all are interested in helping me keep this work going, I just put my Cash App and PayPal in the comment section, okay? My Cash App is $Dr. Yasapa, $DRYASAPA, $DRYASAPA, and then the PayPal is paypal.me/Zion Law School. All right, so yeah, that's a free free opportunity for you guys. Come in, you can come in 2 times, 2 classes. Sometimes I do it more. It just depends on what we're dealing with and what your situation is. You know, the important thing is to get the information out. All right, so now let's continue. Let me get my page back, y'all. All right, so here we are. We're on page 319. So page 319. Now, the first place or passage in writing any book or part of any book or record, profane or sacred, history or romance, in which the name of a man named Mathew occurs, is in our text, this same 9th verse of the 9th chapter of what is called, quote, the gospel according to Saint Matthew, end quote. And here it occurs in the accusative case. And we see Matt, and then we see this Greek word here. Y'all see that? And it continues to read, governed by the verb, and here's the verb in Greek. I don't speak Greek, don't read Greek, so I don't know what this is, okay? Governed by the verb, he saw. All right, so again, Matt, we see the Greek word, governed by the verb, we see the verb there, and that verb means he saw. And in conjunction with the noun under the grammatical government. So y'all see why grammar is so important? You see, hold on, let me see. You see why grammar is so important? Okay, here we are. All right. Which is translated a man. That word, so translated, attracting its participle adjectives. And then we see the Greek. So y'all see we're looking at parts of speech, right? The function of words. The function of words. Oh, here we are. That's where we are. All right. Let me find my place in my book. Which is translated a man. That word so translated, attracting its participle adjectives. We see the Greek word, sitting. That is a man sitting, and we see the next Greek word. Where are we? Oh, here we are. A man sitting and named, or more literally called, thus throwing up so much information as a man sitting Mathew, with the further predication of what he was sitting on or at, that is, his chair or table. So let's go down. So y'all try to follow along, okay? Let me move this menu item. All right. So sitting, so here's the Greek, we're here. And so let me go back to my book. All right, that is his chair or table, which the best Latin versions render sedentum in telonio, which in English should be, quote, sitting in a telonium, and which all that can be shown to the contrary might mean sitting in a wheelbarrow, but which our English translators, taking in audacity, let me repeat that, but our English translators, taking in audacious liberty with the sacred text, instead of confining themselves to the business of translation merely, have presumed to interpret for us, which they had no right to do, that they added, the translators added to the text the gloss of their own impudence and rendered what should have been sitting in a tandem, which should have been rendered, quote, and these are my quotes, not the author's quote. These are my quotes, not the author's quote. That should have been rendered, quote, sitting in a tolonium, end quote. Let me make sure y'all can see that. I'm on the next page. My bad, y'all. You really need to see this. Are we on page 320? So the author is saying that the text says one thing in Greek, but they rendered it in English as something completely different. Let me highlight this, y'all. Y'all see the power of understanding grammar and parts of speech. This is why I'm emphasizing, pleading with you, subscribe to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. It's streaming. You can do it wherever you want. It's only $10. There's no good reason why you should not subscribe to that course so that you can get yourself on the path to being able to use these tools and do what the author is doing yourself. You don't need me to do it. I'm only. Let me read it again. All right. But with our English translators taking an audacious liberty, taking something huge up, upon themselves to do that they had no right to do, taking an audacious liberty with the sacred text, instead of confining themselves to the business of translation merely, have presumed to interpret for us, which they had no right to do. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Are we still online? Are we still live streaming, y'all? Let me check to see what's happening. I was booted out again. Let me see, y'all. I don't know if we're still live streaming. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Let's see. Oh, again. Okay, mic check, mic check. All right. I don't know if we're still live streaming. Okay, yeah, mic so check, we're. Mic check. All right, so we're still going. All right. Mic check, mic check. Let's see. All right, y'all. Don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Okay, so let's continue. So where we left off is the author is pointing out where the translators wrote lies, right? Where the translators intentionally wrote lies. Again, the text, uh, it says here that the translators rendered, we're on page 320, scholars, page 320. The translators rendered what should have been rendered sitting in a tolonium in the long paraphrasis, sitting at the receipt of customs. All right. So these are equivalent statements. Sitting in a telonium in the long paraphrasis, sitting in the receipt of custom. So those are the same, right? Sitting in the seat of customs is a longer way of saying sitting in a telonium. That's what the author is saying. The variation may seem but trifling to uncritical and uncurious Balaams of the gospel that can swallow anything. But to us who would not handle the word of capital G-O-D deceitfully, and I sincerely hold this to be the word of capital G-O-D, it makes no less difference than that of turning it into the word of the what? The devil. And that's devil with a capital D. Devil with a capital D. Again, you need to understand grammar, parts of speech, to know what that's telling you. As the text stands in our English Testament, quote, and as JC, that's JC the Christ figure, passed from thence, he saw a man named Mathew sitting at the receipt of customs. Sitting at the receipt of customs, this is the word or the phrase that we're investigating, right? Sitting at the seat of customs, and he saith unto him, quote, follow me. And he arose and followed him, end quote. It's a downright falsehood. It's an outright lie. It's BS, y'all. That's what the author means. That translation is a lie. Let's continue. There is not a word in the original to signify that Mathew was the receipt of anything when he obeyed the command of JC, the Christ figure, and arose and followed him. And supposing Mathew to have been a Jew, as they tell us that he was, it is an attempt to palm on us rather, a greater miracle than the resurrection of Christ himself. What in the world is the author referring to, y'all? What is he referring to? What's a greater resurrection than the Christ himself? For whoever heard of a Jew who would leave his business? Whoever heard of a Jew who would leave his business at the call of either capital G-O-D or man, when there was anything to be received? That's hilarious. Let me read that again. See, I think this is funny, y'all, because I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish community. I can relate to what he's saying. I can relate to this from personal experience. Let me read it again. All right, I'm gonna read this whole paragraph again. Now, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna start from as the text stands. I thought this was funny. This is nostalgic to me. Reminds me of my childhood. As the text stands in our English Testaments, quote, and as JC passed from thence, he saw a man named Mathew sitting at the receipt of customs. And he said unto him, follow me. And he arose and followed him, end quote. It's a downright falsehood. It's an outright lie, y'all. That's a big lie. There is not a word in the original gospel or the original text to signify that Mathew was in receipt of anything. when he obeyed the command of JC, the Christ figure, and arose and followed him. And supposing Matthew to have been a Jew, as they tell us that Matthew was a Jew, it is an attempt to palm on us as a greater miracle than the resurrection of Christ himself. Or whoever heard of a Jew who would leave his business at the call of either capital G or man when there was anything to be received? In other words, when he was going to get some money or some benefit, that Jew ain't going nowhere, whether it's capital G-O-D calling on him or a man. Y'all get it? The selfishness and the self-centered and the greed being referred to here, right? All right. I thought that was funny. I can relate to that. If a Jew had ever obeyed the call of JC, the Christ figure, we may be sure it must have been because he was not at the receipt of custom, and because no better custom than JC, the Christ figure, was likely to call at his shop. Sooner might they persuade us that the moon was made of green cheese than that there ever was a disciple of Moshe who would leave an opportunity of fingering a six-piece for a sack full of Christian salvation. That's funny. That is funny. Sooner might they persuade us to believe that the moon was made of green cheese than that there ever was a disciple, a student of Moshe, who would leave his opportunity of fingering a six-piece, leave his opportunity of making money, making gain for a sack full of Christian salvation, a sack full of Christian nothingness, a sack full of nothing. Besides, the derivation meaning given by Christian interpreters to the name Mathew signifies given or a reward, which, if it signifies anything, should signify that the man named Mathew would do nothing but what he would take care of to be rewarded for. In other words, this this Mathew character is not going to do anything for anybody else but himself. He's not going to do anything for anybody but himself unless he was going to get some reward for it, some money for it, right? Some advantage, some benefit for it. Everybody see that? So let's continue. What what else is the author going to say? All right. So up until this point, y'all, the author is making us laugh, but we have to take what he's saying lightly, right? Because he still hasn't produced, in my opinion, any heavy evidence, okay? Other than these words are, in fact, the translation is actually deceptive. But I'm talking about Mathew. Mathew himself, not his culture, not the stereotype of his people. Okay, so let's continue to see what else he brings forth for us. And if the telonium meant the place, as they tell us, in which Mathew sat as a custom house officer, appointed under government to receive the customs and charges, the money, right? The fees of freightage on the cockboats that sailed on the Galilean puddle, right? All right, that sailed on the Galilean puddle. His leaving his master's employment, Mathew leaving his job and betraying the trust of his boss at the bidding of the first thief that bid to do so, only shows what an unprincipled scoundrel the man called Mathew must have been, and should make us rather wish that such a villain might be found to be no relation to the gentleman who wrote the gospel according to Saint Matthew, than that we should guess them into one of the same person. So what is the author telling us? The author is saying that only a scoundrel, only a person who has poor character would leave his job just like that, leave his responsibilities. His co-workers are depending on him, his boss is depending on him, his company is depending on him, but some guy who he doesn't know comes along and calls him to work or calls him to follow him. This employee leaves everything. So what the author is saying is that is an irresponsible person. That is a person who lacks character and responsibility to carry out his duties. Why didn't you give a 2-week notice? Something like that. Y'all see what I'm saying? So this is what the author is saying. And so therefore, a person who has such poor character probably didn't write the gospel according to Matthew. But if he did write the gospel according to Matthew, it speaks volumes about his irresponsibility and poor character. That's the point the author is making here. And sure, sirs, this is no, oh, you know what? I thought y'all were looking at what I'm looking at. Sorry about that. I wasn't showing the PDF. So let me pause this right here so y'all can, if you make sure you download the PDF, scholars. This is another reason why it's important to not only download the PDF, but print a copy. So when I make a mistake like that, you have your printed copy. And plus, you should, looking at the computer screen, give your eyes a break. Look at the paper. Print it, look at the paper. And when I make a mistake like this, and I do make mistakes, you'll have your printed copy and you'll be able to continue reading along right with me. Okay, y'all? All right. So we were on page 320 at the bottom. That's down here. All right. So I was reading from this paragraph. Okay. I was reading from that paragraph. So I'm not going to read it again, but we'll continue from here. All right. From the bottom here. We'll continue from here. And it reads, as sure, sirs, there is no instant in any rational construction of language among men in which any author of a treatise, that's a book or letter, so a written work, so annihilated his own memory of his own person. Well, that's true, right? If you author something, you're not going to screw it up when you start talking about who you are as the author, right? Because that takes away the credibility of your work, right? Takes away from the credibility of your work. All right. In other words, he annihilated his own memory of his own person. Okay, he didn't state clearly who he was or how he came to know the Christ figure or his relationship to writing the gospel according to Matthew, and was so utterly beside himself as to introduce his own name and character in his treaty in such a way as this man named Matthew has done, if this Matthew was the same as the Matthew to whom the gospel according to Saint Matthew was ascribed. So I think that's pretty clear, right? All right. Next paragraph. We're on page 322 321. With as much reason might they fix on any other name introduced in the course of the gospel as the name of the author as that of the man named Matthew, as I might fix on the name of Beelzebub, which occurs in this gospel, and call it the gospel according to Saint Beelzebub, which, quote, they upon the adverse faction, end quote, would find as much labor to disprove as ever they could impose on us to prove that it was not the composition of their runaway custom house officer. So in other words, the authorship is unclear. You can put any name in the book of in the book of Matthew. You can put any name in there and say that they wrote it, and you'd have just as good as an argument as that you do for Matthew having wrote it. So let's continue. Let's continue. 1 second. No. Let me show y'all where we're at. Give me 1 second. We're here. All right. Neither is the term which our English renders a man in, let me repeat that. Neither is the term which our English renders, and I'm going to put my own quote, a man, end quote. That's my quote, not the author's. Neither is the term which the English renders a man in the phrase, a man named Mathew, which would have been literally a man, and which is the term invariably used when nothing more than an ordinary and proper man is intended. Okay, but it is, and here's the Greek word, which is the figurative and complementary term for a man, literally signifying something whose face is upward, a looker up. So I'm not clear with what the author is talking about. So let's continue. Let's continue, okay? Let's continue so I can see, and you can see, specifically, what is he getting at? Do I mean then to question whether a man named Mathew was really a man? I answer yes. That's exactly what I do mean to question. And for this reason, because there is nothing in evidence to show but that he might have been a horse, and none but a fool would ever go before his horse to market. Uh-oh, y'all. Uh-oh. Okay, so now we're going to get into it. So do y'all see what the author is saying? The author is saying that the Bible translators who rendered these words added a man. They added that out of nowhere. Y'all got it? Wasn't there? Now the author is going to show us why. So let's continue. Or how he knows. He's going to show us the evidence. See, he's already said that there's no evidence. Let me read it again. It says here, do I mean then to question whether a man, named Mathew was really a man? I answer yes. That's exactly what I do mean to question. Wow, y'all got that? Y'all got that? Let me read the quote from the English Gospels, the English version of the book of Matthew. Quote, and as J.C., the Christ figure, passed forth from thence, he saw a man named Mathew sitting at the receipt of customs, and said unto him, quote, follow me. And he arose and he followed him, end quote. Do I mean then to question whether a man named Mathew really was a man? I answer yes. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean to question. And for this reason, because there is nothing in evidence. There is nothing in evidence because there is nothing in evidence to show that he, but there is nothing in evidence to show that he was a man. I'm adding that. There is no evidence. That means the Greek, the original Greek writing, the Koine Greek, doesn't show. There's no words that says that Mathew was a man. No, none of the words mean that he was a man, but the words that are written means he might have been a horse. The words in Greek actually mean the evidence from the original language in Greek shows that Matthew might have been a horse. I answer yes, that's exactly what I do mean to question. And for this reason, because there is nothing in the evidence to show but that he, that is Matthew, might have been a horse. And none but a fool would ever go before his horse to market. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. He's got my attention now. To all galloping and never chewing Christians. To all y'all busy Christians. To all you busy Christians running back and forth to church, going door to door, putting on fringes, calling yourself Hebrew Israelites, running off on the street corner, running up on people, yelling and screaming at them, or preaching in whatever way y'all do it. To all galloping and never chewing Christians. Never chewing, never eating, never consuming the science of etymology, never consuming philology. In other words, you're busy doing and you don't know anything but what you've been taught, what you've been indoctrinated with, but you haven't applied the science of etymology and all of the other sciences that the author has presented to us in this book. Why? Because your indoctrinators, your pastors, generals, captains, what else do y'all got in the Hebrew Israelites? Pastors, imams, mores, all of this stuff, all of these high-flying, falutin religious titles, they got you so busy indoctrinating you. They got you so busy on the street corner reading their doctrines, precept this and precept that, precept this out, all of this nonsense, that what the real food, the etymology, the real food, the grammar, parts of speech, you know nothing about because you don't have time nor sense to learn it. That's what the author is saying, because they got you busy. They got you running. Let's continue. To all galloping and never chewing Christians, who, while they treat the Holy Scriptures with the utmost contempt and indifference themselves, you hypocrites, call us blasphemers for showing them a higher respect than they know how to show. This might appear as mere, what does that say? Badinage, and the starting a difficulty and doubt as to whether so simple a phrase as a man named Mathew really was, quote, a man named Mathew, end quote, might look like chicaning rather than reasoning. But it's dark, y'all. I'm having a hard time reading. It's a little bit dark where I'm at. But not so fast. The grounds and reasons for that doubt are the very strongest on whichever doubt was founded. Okay, y'all. I think in the next paragraphs, he's going to start getting more into it. At least I hope. He's talking about the doubt and the strong reason to have that doubt. All right. So now let's see what he's going to present now. And by the way, from this point forward, focus on whether or not the audience, whether the author presents sufficient evidence, or you can even say evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that what he's saying is true, that Matthew, that the original text does not say a man, but the original text has more to do with a horse. Okay, focus your attention on that. Okay, even though all this stuff he's been saying is funny, let's focus on the evidence, the facts. Okay, now let's continue. He continues to write, for who, let me highlight this for y'all right here. We're on the first line here. All right. For who could have a right to be absolutely sure that a man means a man in the language of that mysterious book in which he is obliged to admit that the S-O-N, Son of Man, does not mean the S-O-N of a man. Y'all got that? The Son of Man, S-O-N of man, does not mean the S-O-N of a man. Y'all got that? Y'all got that? Is that clear? Here we are. The Son of Man. Oops. Take a look at that. All right. The Son of Man does not mean the son of a man. All right. Christ being always called, these Greek words here. And then it continues to read never, and then the Greek. So I'm assuming that these are equivalents, right? That is always the Son of Man in the figurative term of a man. The Son of Man in the figurative sense of the Son of Man. All right. Never the Son of Man in the literal sense, like your father was Joseph, as opposed to your father being the capital G-O-D, right? Son of Man, his father is a capital G-O-D, that would be Son of Man figuratively. Son of a man, the father would be Joseph. Make your correlations, scholars, make your correlations. Son of a man, literally, Joseph the daddy. Y'all see the difference? One is figurative, one is literal. All right. He continues. As most certainly, in that sense, he, that is JC, the Christ figure, was never the son of a man. But now, let me repeat that. But not only was the Son of Man, this is the figurative use, not the Son of Man, but the Son of Man was not a man at all. That's a mouthful. But not only was the Son of Man, that's the S-O-N, the Son of Man, not the Son of Man, but the Son of Man was not a man at all. The Holy Scriptures most emphatically admonishes us that he was only, quote, found in the fashion of a man, end quote. Philip chapter 2, verse 8. Now let me turn the page for y'all. All right, so it looks like the author wants to focus our attention on figurative use, the figurative use of this phrase, Son of Man. All right, so maybe he's going to do a comparison to the literal use in more detail, but I don't know. Let's continue. That only being one of his fashions, which very soon went out of fashion, as in Matthew chapter 16, verse 13. You will find that quote, when he was come to the coast of Caesarea, that is to say, sees him here, Philippi, of Philip, the lover of a horse. Y'all remember Philip is a lover of a horse, right? That was in the chapter on St. Philip. Okay, that's covered in the chapter on St. Philip if you want to know more about that. It was a question that flesh and blood could not settle, whether he was a man or a horse. And so at Caesarea Philippi, nowhere else, and at no other time, but when he was come to Caesarea at Philippi. Why at Caesarea Philippi? Why? Why at Caesarea Philippi was this an issue? Eternal capital G-O-D. We'll meet him at Philippi. There be proposes the avowed problem, quote, whom say that I, the Son of Man, am, end quote. And one guesses that the Son of Man is Elias, that is Helios, the S-U-N Son itself. Another guesses that he is John the Baptist, that is the constellation of Aquarius, the water bearer. Another guesses that he is the planets. At last, another guesses that the Son of Man is the son of capital G-O-D, and that's the solution of the conundrum. Okay, so how is this the solution? I would like to know, how is that the solution to the problem? Let's let the author continue. It is evident, we are on page 322 at the highlight there. It is evident upon this solution that the word man is synonymous with capital G, capital O, capital D. Let me highlight y'all. Let me highlight that for y'all. Uh-oh. Let me highlight this for y'all. All right, do I got it? All right, here's his claim. Now he's gonna have to back it up. It is evident upon the solution, it is evident upon this solution that the word man is synonymous with capital G-O-D. Man, in this case, means capital G-O-D. The man named Mathew may therefore mean the capital G-O-D name Mathew. Uh-oh, y'all got that? The man named Mathew may therefore mean the capital G-O-D named Mathew. And this is the only proof that the clergy themselves could ever adduce for calling the word of Mathew the word of capital G-O-D. Wow, that's big, yo. That's big. This is big stuff. For Mathew is not one word. For Mathew is not one word, as it is deceitfully represented to be, but two. Mathew is a compound word. Mathew is a compound word. Mathew. Mat, that's the first word. The second word is thu. Two words, a compound word. Now, why is it a compound word? Because your saviors, these Bible translators, these deceitful Bible translators, took it upon themselves to combine Mat and Thu into one word, Mathew, thereby concealing there's a deity involved. There's a capital G-O-D, Mathew. Now they have you further what? Breaking the first commandment. Have no other powers before me. And you don't have a clue. Do you see why the author said that your Bible translators are your saviors? Y'all see why we need our own translation? So if you want to support, I'm Dr. Dryasapa from Zion Law School. I am going to write preparing to write the first 5 books of the Hebrew, quote unquote, Hebrew scriptures. I'm going to do that writing in Ibaryath. Ibaryath, parts of speech, and English rendering. See, it has no value if it has no English rendering, because people don't understand Ibaryath, right? It doesn't understand, people don't understand. So we must have it with the Ibaryath, with the part of speech of each word, and with the English rendering of each word. We must have it that way. Do you see why we need our own book, our own literature? So if you want to support me in writing this document from our point of view, and I'm going to give you the literal point of view, like the author is doing. I'm going to give you the literal meaning of the words and the verses. I'm going to give you the literal meaning so you know what these documents say. No doctrine whatsoever, so that you'll know, and so that you'll be able to return to the Most High and not be tricked, not be fooled into calling on these deities. Now, y'all know there's a verse, there's an instruction that says, not only don't bring another power before my face, don't bring another God, or don't bring a rather God before my face, but there's another one that says, do not speak the name of a deity. This is why I'm spelling the deities' names. That's why I spell the deities' names instead of speak them. All right. So if you want to support me and that work, my Cash App is $ Dr. Yasapa, $DRYASAPA, $DRYASAPA. And my PayPal is paypal.me/Zion Law School. I put the links in the comment section of this video already. And if you want to see examples of my work, I have a recommended book list in the description area of this video. You can click on any of those books, or those links rather, and it'll take you to books that I've written on the topic. And you'll get to see what my work looks like. You can come to our Saturday 10 a.m. class, which is called 506 The Curses course. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can come and sit in and experience my writings and experience more of me and how I teach. And you can decide whether or not you want to support the writing of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible into Ibaryath with its literal meanings rendered in English with a non-religious, no theology point of view from our perspective, not our oppressors' perspective and their minions. All right. So now let's continue. It reads here. We're on page 322. It is evident upon this solution that the word man is synonymous with capital God. Man here and capital God are the same. Okay. The man named Mathew may therefore mean the capital God named Mathew. And this is the only proof that the clergy themselves could ever adduce for calling the word Mathew the word of capital God. So in other words, when you look at the literal meaning of these words that the clergy or the Bible translators translated as Mathew, when you look at them in the original language, the only conclusion that you can come up with is that capital G-O-D, Mathew. There's no evidence of a Mathew. That's trickery. That's lies and deceit. That's what the author is telling you, telling us. The man named Mathew may therefore mean the capital G-O-D named Mathew. And this is the only proof that the clergy themselves could ever adduce for calling the word of Mathew the word of capital G-O-D. Ain't no way around it. There's no other explanation. Mathew is a deity. The gospel according to the capital G-O-D, Mathew. For Mathew is not one word, but it is deceitfully represented to be one word. No, Mathew is two words, and two of entirely distinct significances. Mat being the individual name. Mat is the individual name, and Thu the family name. In other words, y'all, the capital G-O-D of Matt, and then Thu is his last name. So for example, the capital G-O-D of Joe Smith, the capital G-O-G of Bob Jones, the capital G-O-D of Mary Watson. Y'all got it? Y'all got it? That's what he's saying. Now, let's continue. So that Mathew, let me repeat that, so that whatever the mat means, we might wipe our feet upon the mat. But the Thu betrays to us that, quote, the man named Mathew, y'all got that? Most certainly was no man at all. Truth being the name of the chief or supreme, capital G-O-D, of the Egyptian. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Y'all Hebrew Israelite Christians, y'all got issues with the Egyptians. Wouldn't this be the strangest irony? The Hebrew Israelites who have a problem with the Egyptians for whatever reasons they have. It turns out that the gospel according to Saint Matthew is what? The gospel according to what? The chief or supreme, capital G-O-D, of the Egyptian. Wow. Let's continue. Let me highlight where we are. You Hebrew Israelites, y'all got a problem here. Y'all got a problem. You can't, guys. All right. So let's continue. Let's continue. From the Egyptian word truth, dropping the cacophony produced by a repetition of the whatever that is, I don't know, or the TH, okay. The TH at the end, which is paragogic merely, all right, that means it's just there. As the word was variously spelt. The Greeks formed their name for the supreme, capital G-O-D, Theos. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so y'all see that? All right, okay. So Theos, that's the The and then the EOS, or the TH rather, the TH and then the EOS, which is the basis of our English words theology, TH, and theological, see the TH? In the Doric dialect of the Greek, this Theos, TH, Theos, would be spelt and written Theos, which is precisely the word added to the word mat. Uh-oh, y'all see that? In the Mattheos of the Greek Testament. Now, do you see the power of grammar, the power of etymology? Y'all see that? You see that? You see the power of knowing how words are formed, morphology. We cover these topics. We use these topics every class in our Saturday 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time class. In the Doric dialect of the Greek, this theos, theos, would be spelled, we would say spelled, written, spelled and written, theos, Thaios, which is precisely the word added to the word mat. In the Mattheos of the Greek Testament, in the, I don't know how to pronounce this, the Aeolic dialect of the Greek, which was the basis of the Latin tongue, theos became deus, as in our English coinage. Deus is the sum of all we have to say about the deity. Plato, in his treatise named Philebus, mentioned Thoth, or well, let me repeat that, Thoth, the supreme capital God of Egypt. Y'all see that? So the reference point, the citation is Plato. Plato in his treatise named Philebus, so go get this if y'all want to research this. Go get Plato's work called Philebus, where Plato mentions Thoth, the supreme god of Egypt. Now let's go back up here. Now, where do we see that? We were in this paragraph somewhere here. All right, so here we are. Oh, here. There we are. All right, so let's just review this again. So that whatever the mat means, we may wipe our feet upon the mat. All right, mat is insignificant for what we're going through now. We don't need to consider it right now. That's what the author is saying. But the thu betrays to us that, quote, the man named Mathew, end quote, most certainly was no man at all. All right. Okay, so the thu, it is the thu that's telling us that Mathew was not a man. All right. Next, Thoth or Thoth, see that? The highlighted word? Thoth being the name of the chief or supreme capital God of the Egyptians. And the author gets this information from Plato in Plato's work called Philebus. That's where he's getting that. That's his citation, the highlight right there. Okay. Thoth or Theoth, maybe it's pronounced Theoth. Yeah, I think it's Theoth. Theoth, the supreme capital God of Egypt. Okay, I hope I made that clear. He was looked upon as a great benefactor and the first cultivator of the vine. Uh-oh. Theoth was looked upon as a great benefactor and the first cultivator of the vine, as is expressed in his pretty hexameter. Wow, this is incredible, y'all. I hope y'all are enjoying it. I hope everybody sees how profound the implications of what the author has just revealed to us is. The gospel according to Matthew is not the gospel according to Matthew at all. It is what? It is what? It's a story about the capital God, the chief, supreme, capital God of Egypt, Theoth. Theoth. So take that logic or take that fact, if you accept it as fact, take this evidence and apply it to the gospel of Luke the Gospel of John, the Gospel of Mark. All of them become the what? The story of the chief, capital G-O-D, of Egypt, Theot. Let me look at the comments before I move forward. Let me look at the comments before I move forward, all right? Oh, my chat is disconnected. Theot is the chief, capital G-O-D, of Egypt. That means all of the Gospels are telling the story of Theot, who is the chief, capital G-O-D, chief deity of Egypt. Wow, that's incredible. Okay, y'all. This is wild. Y'all share this information. Y'all share this with people, okay? This is something that people have to know. Now you see why nobody's talking about this book. Okay, Darrell-El writes, as a practicing psychiatrist for 3 decades, identifying personality types and styles is second nature to me. Whether I meet the person or read about them, many Christians believe that according to the Bible, after Paul converted, he miraculously became a new and different person. Darrell-El continues, Matt, a flat piece. Of course, material used for wiping one's feet. Excellent, excellent point, Darrell-El. Darrell-El continues, through, quote, way of behaving toward others, bearing, manners, habit, practice, good manners, courtesy, characteristic, act, someone walking all over you. Wow. Do y'all see how powerful that is? What Darrell-El just put in? Do you see how powerful? And Darrell-El, could you put in the chat, if you will, what skills did you apply in order to put this together? If you would do this for the audience, so that they can see what you did to reach the conclusion that you reach someone walking all over you. Could you please do that if you're still here? So y'all see how powerful this is? The Gospels, the chief deity of Egypt is walking all over you, dominating you, having supremacy over you, oppressing you. Again, the Gospels according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Excellent. Darrell-El writes etymology. Scholars, do you see why etymology is so important? You can do exactly what you saw or what you see Darrell-El has done. If you just invest your time in learning etymology and common sense, putting two and two together, but you will never be able to put 2 and 2 together if you don't have a clue about the etymological or denotative meaning of the words. Thank you so much, Darrell-El. That was a beautiful, a beautiful presentation. Thank you. Thanks for holding it down in the comment section. So these are the type of comments that cause people to grow. And I appreciate you, Darrell-El, for sharing that with us. Y'all see how generous Darrell-El has been with that? And all of you can do the same. Don't be shy about putting what you know and what you are asking in the comment section, because we have people like Darrell-El and others who are regularly in the comment section who can answer questions for you. All right. So we have that. We're fortunate enough to have that. So I'm blown away, y'all. Not much blows me away, but I'm blown away. I really like this author because he makes me laugh with his presentation, with how he presents information. And some of it is so surprising, so surprising. All right. So for all of the Hebrew Israelites out there who are quote unquote banging on the Egyptians for what they did to our people, well, now look at what you are doing to our people by pushing this gospel on them, which is nothing more than the chief Egyptian deity, Theos, walking all over our people, oppressing them. All right. So y'all think about that. Y'all guys in the camps who don't like our brothers, right? So let's see, where are we? Let me read this again. Theos was looked upon as a great benefactor. Benefactor to who? And the first cultivator of the vine, as is expressed in that pretty hexameter. Turn my page here. So that we see it in Greek. I'm not gonna mess with the Greek because I don't understand it. Darrell-El says that from his profession as a practicing psychiatrist, people don't change like that. Like Paul said he changed. All right, let's continue. So the Greek, we see the Greek at that first two lines. All right, well, the first line, underneath it says, Thoth first taught how to apply the pruning knife to the vine branch. So Thoth is the Gospels are telling the story of the Greek power Thoth. I'm getting that from page 323 of the Devil's Pulpit. Let me highlight it. Right here. Scholars, focus your attention on that. All right. It reads, Thoth. Now this is the Greek coming. Let me repeat that. So what is the hexameter? I believe he's quoting from Plato's treatise Philebus, but I'm not sure here, y'all. But we see this on page 223 at the top line. We see this Greek line of text. Below that, here's the interpretation in English. Thoth, first thought, have to apply the pruning knife to the vine branch. That would make Thoth this deity Theoth, right? Because Theoth was the first cultivator of the vine. There we go. Now let's continue on page 323. Thoth was supposed to have invented letters. If so, he certainly invented the two best inventions that ever were told. That is to say, good learning, of which I have enough, and good drinking, of which I have not enough. Drinks, wine. Sudius calls him Theos and says that he was the same as Ares, which was the name of the capital God, Mars, from whom our English word for the rough and blustering month of March, and the Latin name Aries, the ram. Oh, wow. All right. Okay. So that there's no knowing whether the man named Mathew may not turn out to be rather a beast at last. But it may be asked, how could a brute beast write a gospel? that soon answered. A brute beast could quite easily write a gospel as a rational man could believe one. And sure, sirs, 'tis monstrous that any man who believes that Balaam's ass could preach a sermon. And sure, sirs, 'tis monstrous that any man, any intelligent man, any man of normal, what? Normal intelligence, who believes that Balaam's ass could preach a sermon, should doubt that any ass, any horse in the world might write the text for it. Preach the sermon, write the text for the sermon, right? So if you can believe one, you surely can believe the other. Nothing is impossible to capital G-O-D. Wow, he's using their own stuff against them. And that there really was something of the beast in the character of the man named Mathew, or something very beastly about him. I appeal to the highest authority in the metropolis or in this city, even as high as the top of St. Paul's Cathedral, on the western pediment of which you will see the man named Mathew in company with one of the savagest looking wild beasts of all that you ever saw in Pydoc's menagerie, whatever that is. That's got to be something from the. If someone wants to look that up and put it in the comment section, thank you in advance. They say pares cum paribus facilum or facilime congregator. Birds of a feather flock together, and it may be so with beast. But this is certain, however cruel you may take Matthew's lion to be. Mathew himself has a heart of stone. Capital G-O-D Almighty, they say, says, quote, thou shalt not make to thyself any graven image, nor any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or the earth beneath, nor in the water underneath the earth, end quote, like a schoolboy. But the contempt of the Christians, of the Christian clergy, for any commandment of capital G-O-D is as huge as St. Paul's Cathedral. And I would have to agree with him on that. I would have to agree with them on that. They have replaced the Most High's instructions with matters of morality. Matters of morality. All right, that's the real replacement theology. All right, now let's continue. So there stand the graven images in as naked impudence as the Venuses, the Tam O'Shanters, and the Soter Johnnies. On the Italians' headboards, as they cry, quote, Cumbing por Sila. I'm not going to read that. I don't know Italian. I'll mess it up. Hold on. So I'm here, y'all. Oops. I'm here. All right. So if you read Italian, you can read that. All right. So now let's continue. But is there no authority for this apparent idolatry? Yes, the authority of every cathedral or decorated church in Christendom. Let me turn the page here. The authority of 1,000 altarpieces of capital G-O-D in immediate juxtaposition with this violated commandment. The authority of all the ornamented title pages of the Bible itself. Every representation you ever saw or that ever existed in which the man named Mathew was represented never failed to represent a lion as a coessential and inseparable part of that representation. Did I miss something, y'all? Let me continue and then I'm going to go back. the man named Matthew has something to do with the beast. But whether it was the man or the beast that wrote the gospel can only be guessed at on the strong presumption that it was the beast that wrote it, implied in its not being called the Gospel of Matthew or by Matthew, as it would have been had the man called, or the man named Matthew wrote it. But according to Mathew, in other words, the author is saying what I've been saying repeatedly. It is not the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew being one word, but it is the author is saying here, he's not saying gospel, but it's saying, but according to Mathew, that's two words, Mathew, John Jones, James, according to John Jones, according to James Smith, right? Like we discussed earlier. But it is definitely not according to Matthew. That's the author's point. It is certainly not according to Matthew. It is certainly not according to a man. That's the author's point. Let's continue. That word according, being composed of the Latin word cor, cordis, the heart, that is agreeably or answering to the heart. Now, if the gospel had been agreeable or agreeably to the man's heart and not answered exactly to the lion's heart, the lion, as being the king of the beast, like all other kings that beasts are subject to, would have torn the man to pieces. Okay, all right, what else? Next paragraph. Nor would Matthew's gospel be of any authority whatever among rational men. Okay, well, let's see. Let's see what he has to say. Nor would Matthew's gospel be of any authority whatever among rational men, if it were not supported by the authority of the royal beast. And that's the reason why, if a man speak his mind too freely against the gospel, according to Saint Mathew, the devil a bit does Matt care about it. But the lion begins to roar, and the jackals of the gospel, that are always the lion's providers, will swear that you said it against the peace of the sovereign, capital L-O-R-D, the king, his crown and dignity, and you may reckon it as a bit of the devil's own luck if you don't get cast into the lion's den. Never would mankind have believed in Matthew's gospel if they had not been frightened out of their wits by Matthew's lion. But there are three other gospel mongers or evangelists, as well as anthrope Mathew. I believe that's something like a deer or something. I can't remember what kind of animal that is. To whose loving kindness we are equally indebted. You know, it's funny that he would say loving kindness, right? Because here we're talking about a beast that will devour you, right? Or all of these punishments, burning in hell. And then within that context of torture, torment, fear, we get loving kindness from the deity, right? All right, let's continue. Let's continue. And by the way, scholars, I don't know where some of you are, if you're in Christianity or Hebrew Israelite camps or Hebrew Israelitism. mocking you. If I'm coming across as mocking you, that's not my intention. I'm laughing because I'm having fun as I go through this. Okay, so it's nothing against you. I've been in Christianity and I came out and I know what that process is like. All right. Okay, so the author makes the assertion that never would mankind have believed in Matthew's gospel if they had not been frightened with burning in hell, right? Out of their wits by Matthew's lying. All right, so now let's go down and deal with these other gospels. So there is St. Mark with his little devil to remind us of the characteristic genius of the gospel, quote, he that believeth not, he that believeth not, in other words, if you don't believe this, shall be damned. If you don't believe this, you're damned to burn in hell. So you better believe it whether you understand it or not. That's called, in the real world, being a fool and a coward, right? Remember, the author says that the religion is intended to make you a coward and a slave. All right. So again, let's read it again. There is St. Mark with his little devil to remind us of the characteristic genius of the gospel. In other words, this is the common theme of the gospel. He that believeth not shall be damned. There is Luke with his mad bull. That sounds like a beer targeted to the Black community, Mad Bull. There is Luke with his mad bull, ready to gore us into salvation. And there is John with his eagle to pluck out the eyes of our reason. And each of these monsters or holy evangelists, these apostles, as you observe, has a royal nature in it. That is something indescribably mischievous, something indescribably mischievous, savage, and destructive. The lion being the king among wild beasts, the bull, the king over tame animals, the eagle, king of things, quote, in heaven and above, end quote, and the devil or man devil, the king of things, quote, in the earth beneath, end quote. Well, then may we pray to these royal beasts or beastly kings, and especially I who, with the eye of faith, do see them as I, let me repeat that, do see them as it were on the spring to lock me in their infernal embraces, quote, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, spare the bed which I lay on, end quote. The royal savages are all but ready to murder us in our sleep. In other words, they get into your subconscious mind, right? And cause you to have guilt trips. You're dreaming about the dirt you did. You're scared you're gonna burn in hell. So what is affecting your sleep? I think this is what the author is indirectly saying. All right. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Going out, drinking and clubbing, and who did you go home with? Hopefully it wasn't, well, I ain't gonna tell y'all that, but of a story I know about somebody. Well, y'all know how people are when they partying and they drinking. All right. The things people do and blame on the devil. The things people do and say it was the devil who made me do it. All right. The royal savages, these gospel writers, according to the author, are all but ready to murder us in our sleep. Their myrmidons are breathing vengeance upon us, upon me. for only having made a joke or two against the Holy Scriptures. That's blasphemy, according to the Gospels, right? Because my jokes set my fellow creatures a laughing, whereas their jokes have never been laughing matters. Oh, wow, that's pretty good. Their jokes have never been laughing matters, right? Their jokes have never been laughing matters because their jokes are what? Tyranny, oppression. They're laughing at you, but you're not laughing. You're suffering, you're hungry because they manufacture poverty. They manufacture wars. They manufacture what? Rumors of war to keep you in fear, praying to that external deity, always making sure that the religious leaders have a job, because you need to go through them to get to the deity. All right, let's continue. And they are for coming the old joke, which they played off upon me when they clapped me into Oakham Goal and then sent me the chaplain of the prison to tell me to, quote, stand fast in the liberty wherewith Christ has made me free, end quote. Y'all see that? Now that's a joke that ain't funny, right? It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, is it? So what the author is saying is that because he was telling people, revealing to people what he had been taught as he rose through the ranks of Freemasonry all the way to the top, his conscience started bothering him. Y'all remember that? And he started to spill the beans. He started to say, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. I got to tell the truth. So he began to reveal that the Gospels are a fairy tale according to Freemasonry, right? According to Freemasonry, he began to teach people astrotheology to help them get out, to help them become free from bondage, to help them improve their lives, but more importantly, to clear his conscience and to make amends for the harm that he had harmed people with by preaching the Gospels, okay? I'm telling his story as he told it. All right? Now, his fellow brethren in Freemasonry, who were lawyers, judges, politicians, princes, dukes, all of that stuff, teamed up together and said, hey, you're not going to mess up our business. Throw this man in jail. They put him in prison. Threw a huge fine on him twice, right? That he couldn't afford to pay. And you know the people weren't going to be there for him, y'all. Y'all know that. The people were going to run, right? When he needed them the most. And then they had the nerve to send a chaplain. They had the nerve to send a chaplain to the Reverend Robert Taylor while he's in prison. And what did that chaplain, what did that religious leader tell the Reverend Robert Taylor while he's in prison? Quote, stand fast in the liberty wherewith Christ had made me free, end quote. That ain't no joke. That ain't nothing to laugh about, right? All right. So what am I referring to? The author says further in this paragraph, he says, the royal savages are all but ready to murder us in our sleep. Their myrmidons are breathing vengeance upon me for only having made a joke or two against the Holy Scriptures. They charged him with blasphemy. Because my jokes set my fellow creatures a laughing. See, everybody's laughing. Whereas their jokes have never been a laughing matter. No, these people will expire you or lock you up or charge you fines that are so high that you'll spend a lifetime and still never pay them back. Let me check the comment section. All right, Darrell-El writes, Schultz malt liquor bull, right? Yeah, Schultz malt liquor bull. Oh, this presentation was quite fun. I can't wait until we get into the astronomical part of this. I think we're gonna pick up tomorrow, y'all, on this. Yeah, we'll pick up tomorrow on this. I think we've been gone for 2 or 2.5 hours. I'm not sure, but I don't want to keep you all with a very, very long live stream. So I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. It was a lot of funny stuff. It appears to me from the literal meanings that we've covered so far that these gospels are saying that that the deity is Thoth or Theoth, Thoth, right? That's my impression so far. But we'll see where he's going with the animals, with the bull, the horse, and the lion. We'll see where he's going with that. So thank you to those who have subscribed to 101 Ancient Ibaryath. I appreciate the support, and you're in for a treat. This streaming course is transformational. I can guarantee you that. This is going to help you tremendously in your return to the Most High. If you can appreciate what the author has shown us with the use of etymology, then this course is for you, because this allows you to do, this prepares you, puts you on the pathway, gives you the skills, and helps you go from your current mindset to a new mindset required to be able to do what the author is doing. So you'll gather, accumulate, acquire the skills to be able to do what the author is doing and what we've been covering in the last 75 live streams, y'all. So thank you for subscribing. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please take a couple minutes now. Go to zionlawschool.org, click on course offerings right here, course offerings. All right, and then you'll see 101 Ancient Ibaryath streaming online course. All right. This covers everything you want to know, everything that you could hope for, possibly hope for in a introductory course. This is intensive and comprehensive. All right. So let me scroll down to the part 1. This is the introduction. This is your background information. All right. And you'll actually get to hear what the language sounds like when it's read. And then part 2, this is everything pictographs, y'all, including Ibaryath word studies that will help you do what? Help you to unlock hidden meaning, hidden pearls, hidden jewels that are locked inside Ibaryath words that are not contained in a lexicon. And I teach you how to do this. I'm Dr. Dryasapa from Zion Law School. I teach this course. I teach you how to do this as I present all of these absolutely phenomenal, incredible, amazing, brilliant Ibaryath word studies. You see there's a lot, right? And then part 3 is the grammar. You're going to get all the grammar that you could actually hope for. Now, again, this is a comprehensive, intensive introductory course. So go to zionlawschool.org and subscribe. It's only $10 per month, no contract, cancel anytime. All right. Now, why is it only $10? Because I want everybody, no matter where you are in the world, you can be in Philippines, you can be in Laos, you can be in China, Vietnam, no matter, you can be in Nairobi, Ghana, Botswana, no matter where you are in the world, you can be in Benin, Cape Verde, you'll still be able to afford to subscribe to this course and reclaim your heritage. This course has a $10,000 market value. Call up, go online, any of these Hebrew schools. Okay, now they're not going to teach you Ibaryath, they're going to teach you modern Hebrew or biblical Hebrew. Look at the prices that they're charging. So don't think that because this is almost free, that it's not worth anything. No, this is a gift from me to you. Go check those prices. Go to a local synagogue and say, hey, I want to learn Hebrew. See how much they charge you and see how helpful they're going to be to you. All right. Now, when you subscribe to the course, I highly recommend that you also buy this book. It's called, and here's the link. All right, here's the link. So I'm in the description. You can get all of these links in the description area of this video. So I'm going to click on the link. I highly recommend that you go and you buy 911 Ibaryath Rescue, the international edition. Buy this book on Amazon.com. This is the only book that you should buy on Amazon.com. All our other books, I would like for you to buy them on our website. Why? Because Amazon takes too much money. It's really almost not even worth it to do business with them, but you have to for a lot of reasons. But 911 Ibaryath Rescue, buy that one on Amazon, only that one. All right. And here is the book. Okay, number 5 on our recommended book list. This is the book that we use during our Saturday live class, 506 The Curses course. This is our textbook. I can read Biblical Phoenician, Hebrew, or Ibaryath. Okay, Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 29, volume 3. If you want to get that book and come to class, you're more than welcome to do so, but you don't need it to come to observe the free classes, okay? All right, so if you want to support us or me, I'm Dr. Dryasapa from Zion Law School. Consider making a donation through our Cash App, which is $ Dr. Dryasapa, $DRYASAPA, $DRYASAPA. I'm putting it in the chat now, but if you prefer to use PayPal, that's also fine. I'll put that in the chat now too. It's paypal.me/Zion Law School, or you can purchase our books. Any of the books on the recommended book list that you're looking at right here, the highlighted part, Ibaryath recommended book list. You can purchase any of our books. These books will also help you with these type of videos that I'm doing right now. See, this gets into the mechanics of language, all right? So if you want to support us in this way, you're more than welcome to do so. Any support that you give is greatly appreciated. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. The support is needed so that we can improve on what we do, not only with our book writing, but with the technology that we're using to present these live streams, and then ultimately to be able to provide all of this technology, all of these presentations from on our website, so we won't be subject to the interruption of the live stream by YouTube or whomever. We'll be able to function in peace and say what I want to say. You know, you can't say what you want to say on YouTube because they'll take down all your videos, and you know how YouTube, how they do. All right. So this book, Animals in the Bible, this is an excellent, a wonderful book for visual learners. Now, people who have bought this, who have, even babies, have told me that the babies' eyes light up when they see this book because of the brilliant colors, the glossy pages. But this is also good for any school-age child and adults, any visual learner, okay? And what else about this book? This book, Animals in the Bible, is going to give you the Ibaryath names of the animals in the Bible. And it tells you how to pronounce them and gives you the English rendering or the animal's name in English. This is a beautiful book, y'all. And I'm showing it because it's only $9.99. It's full color, printed on glossy paper. This book is a steal, is almost free. So y'all get that for your babies and for yourself if you're a visual learner, okay? This is an excellent introduction for children into our language, Ibaryath. Remember, we're reclaiming our heritage, y'all. Our heritage, what is ours. So if we don't invest even just a few dollars into reclaiming our own heritage, our own language, what does that say about our respect and appreciation for our own language, right? What does it say about you? You see what I'm saying? All right, so y'all, that's all I got for y'all today in this live stream. Thanks, Darrell-El, for holding it down in the chat and for that, for that really, really excellent bit of etymology that you put forth for us and the reasoning on how you put that together. Much appreciated, much, much appreciated. So I'm Dr. Dryasapa from Zion Law School. Islam to all the Moors, Islam to all the Moors, Genesis chapter 2. We are sprung from the earth. We are sprung from the earth. Black's Law Dictionary, land, Moors are the same. Moors are land, land is more, right? Or land are Moors, right? There is a well-established principle in law that what? There's a well-established, let me show y'all the video, hold on. Let me show y'all the video. I want everybody to go, if you have time and interest, I want you to go and let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Let me see. And watch this video so y'all can know what I'm talking about. Ah, here, this. Go back and watch this. Moors, and that's also the house of Yasharallah, right? 16 families, 16 nations. Genesis chapter 10. So Genesis chapter 2, Genesis chapter 10, which is a table of nations. All right, Jubilees chapter 8, which is the land allotment. Moors are the quote unquote powers and law on earth. Why? Because Moors are the substance and subject matter of the law. Land is the substance and subject matter of the law. Therefore, Moors are the substance and subject matter of the law. If you want to know more about that, watch this video with Dryasapa, Israelites are, now Sonetta made this title. Dryasapa, Israelites are Moors, and all Aramaic religions are frauds. All right, so watch these two videos, okay, to get that background. All right, so Islam and Shalawama to all of the Moorish nations, we are one. We are one. See y'all tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a little bit earlier than today. Y'all know I'm in a hotel right now, so I'm kind of not able to do things really when I want to, but I'm making it do what it do. See y'all tomorrow.